Welcome back, Eric Hattie, Everyday Hustle. Thought we'd met. Uh, First of all, I'm going to apologize for the absolute dog shit episode 4. I actually, along with 2 days of learning how to edit multicam for no reason at all, I was also toiling with, if I even wanted to put that episode up, just because of how unprepared and bumbling, rambling, nonsensical bullshit I was spewing. Um, but I really want to hold true to a philosophy that even if it sucks, somebody might get something from it. And if nothing else, I want you to fully see and believe how unfiltered, unrehearsed, unpracticed this is, good and bad. Because some of my best nuggets have come from winging it, sophomore year of college. And some of my biggest pieces of dog shit have absolutely come from the same, i.e., episode 4. So, if you listen to it, I hope you enjoyed the multicam, which is also now the cat cam, and a new angle too. Look at that, yeah. But but no, we'll try and get back on track here. So, episode 5. Well, actually, shit. Before we do that, the other reason I'm recording tonight, when I literally just put out a delayed episode this morning, is there is still a little iota of time left to donate to Mission 500 and Feeding America's COVID-19 response. Again, if we get it in before tomorrow morning, we're about $1,500 shy of the benchmark for me to shave completely. So if we can somehow shake the couch cushions, cut a branch off the money tree, we could feasibly have a fat 12-year-old tomorrow morning. So again, Mission 500, a security-based nonprofit charity. They do amazing things for families and children in the States as well as abroad. I participated in 2 of their service trips. Both times I went to Puerto Rico in response to Hurricane Maria. And right now they're trying to raise $1 million. They're trying to raise $100,000 that would in turn create 1 million meals to help folks that have been struck with lack of income and job from COVID-19. So $1,500, like 15 hours. Think we can do it? I think we can do it. So if you haven't yet, please go donate. Last chance. Link is in the meeting the meeting notes. Oh my god, I do listen to every episode after I post it, and I realized in the episode 3 I said the meeting notes, which is some corporate bullshit I would say in one of my team meetings. What I meant to say was in the episode notes. Or you can just click here, or on the multicam, you can click here. Go to YouTube. That'll make more sense, my friendly podcast listeners. So please and thank you. Please donate. It's not that I want to go clean shaven, but I'm truly passionate about what Mission 500 does. So please go donate. Thank you so much. So moving on, episode 5. I have a grab bag of notes here of potential topics that I wanted to talk about. So in case you're curious, I'm prepared more than episode 4 in the sense of my notes are here and I can read them, but I am not prepared in the sense of having any idea of what I'm going to talk about or any structure beyond what topic I choose in the next 10 seconds. So while I stall, I do want to share with you that my first guest is scheduled, and she, #feminism, will be airing on a very special episode this coming Sunday in honor of Mother's Day. My mother, Robin Hattie, will be my very first guest, and she's going to shoot the shit with me and talk about what it was like to be my mom. So look forward to that. Like I said, we're recording it sometime in the middle of this week because I'm sure she's going to want like final producer approval and make sure that it's not something that she would be utterly embarrassed that her wine drinking friends would hear. Um, because she knows after 35, oh, almost 35 years, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to put stuff out there unless she says, don't do that. And she does still. So while I was stalling, let's let's talk about. Oh, this is a good one. So just so you know what I'm looking at. My chicken scratch notes are a plethora of random topics with no context whatsoever. It's like one or two words that I wrote down in a hurry when I thought of it, and then this silly, very corporate America hub graph. If you, I don't even know if that's the name of it or not. Basically, there's a circle, and in the circle it says everyday hustle, and then there are spokes off of that hub that are all of the core values of what I feel everyday hustle should be. So, well, fuck it. Let's talk about it. So, in the everyday hustle hub, there are core values such as personal branding, continuity, tenacity, doing the right thing, doing what you'll say you'll do, honesty, being genuine, bringing value, always hustling. It's in the name, and making change your bitch. We'll find a better way to phrase that before we put it on a t-shirt. So those, I guess, at some point, probably, 2 a.m, one random night, I was like, "Fuck, this is brilliant. Let's draw this up." So, and then there's all these random topic ideas like how to deal with asshole bosses, working around office politics, goal setting, embracing change, transformation, old school techniques that won't die, continuity, bringing value beyond dollars, personal brand. Well, shit, we can cross that one off. That was episode 2. Not hustle related, guilty pleasures, Vanderpump Rules. Just now got to season 8. Can't believe I'm telling the whole world, but I fucking love that show. Interviewing my mom on Mother's Day, interviewing my dad on Father's Day, and then a side, like a spinoff. That's the word I'm looking for. A spinoff podcast that my wife and her Yenta friends could do called Everyday Heckle. Maybe I'll talk about that sometime. So the one that jumped out at me here was personal accountability. So let's talk about that. First, what is personal accountability? And in true Eric Hattie form, I call that owning your shit. So let me give you a great example. So in a previous life, I worked for a company that was a distributor of television services, but they were also a manufacturer of cabling and raw materials for structured cabling companies, pre-wire companies. And so I was truly the cable guy. I was slinging rolls of coax and Cat5 and Cat6. And the company had notoriously always just worked with little mom and pop satellite, technicians, and they were selling, a couple rolls here, a couple rolls there. With some of the larger companies, it was like, hey, fuck yeah, we sold a pallet. I can't just do the status quo. I have to go find the white whale and go above and beyond and do something that nobody else ever has. And so, long story short, there was a company here in Dallas. We're not going to use names, mostly because there's probably some laws that were broken in this story. Company that does the pre-wiring in a lot of new construction builds for several um, large cookie cutter construction contractors. And I approached these guys, found out, that they were just buying their cable wherever it was the cheapest, typically from China. Price was absolutely the most important thing to them. Um, but we found a way where we could probably miss on the price, but we could save them money in other things where we were way cheaper. And this was months and months of courting them and building their trust and getting information, and then was able to put a quote on paper, and they actually signed. They were like, cool, let's do it. They put in their first $250,000 order that was going to get them like a 30-day run rate of cable. Now, in perspective, an average month for me in part sales was like $100,000 to $150,000. So this was like my entire quarter in 30 days. And so I'm already, popping champagne and spending money that I haven't even gotten yet. And long story short, we had to back out of it because the only request they had was that their Cat 5 cable was hot pink. And my COO was just morally offended at the thought of making hot pink cable, not because it was hot pink, but because if they were ever to back out of the deal, we were going to be sitting on a lot of pink cable that we wouldn't be able to sell. What happened, and where personal accountability comes into this story, is when COO told me that we would not be able to fulfill that order. He told me that he was going to contact them and take the heat for it because it was 100% not my fault that they were not going to fulfill this order. And what happened was he never called. So, guy from Structured Cabling Company calls me about 30 days after all of this had gone down and said, hey, where the hell's my cable? And I was like, what are you talking about? They didn't tell you? And he's like, what the fuck do you mean they didn't tell me? I didn't place my order with my other company, and now if you're telling me I don't have cable from you, there's going to be like a 45-day window where I have no cable. And he used a lot of choice words. And here's where personal accountability comes into that is, it would have been very easy for me to go, hey, you know what? It's that guy's fault because he was supposed to call you and he didn't. And instead of passing the buck and blaming somebody else, I basically bent over and took it and said, you know what, man, you're right. That guy was supposed to call you, but I should have immediately called you and followed up and checked in and made sure that the communication was clear. And because I didn't do that, you're in this position. And it's 100% my fault, and I'm truly sorry. Now, there should be a silver lining there where he totally understood, and we got his next order of business that wasn't pink cable, but there wasn't. He never spoke to me again. And the part about breaking the law. So a year later, right around Christmas time, I had remembered that one of the guys who made the introduction originally said, oh, this guy loves long cut Copenhagen. Take a couple rolls of long cut Copenhagen in there and he'll love you forever. So it was right around Christmas time. I was like, man, I haven't talked to this guy. He's not answering my calls. I'm just going to go in there and bring him a nice Christmas present. Just say I'm thinking about him and not even, push it any further. So my fat ass goes in there with a 7-Eleven bag with 2 rolls of long cut Copenhagen. And front desk girl says, who are you? I said, I'm Eric. I'm with company name. Any idiot can go on my LinkedIn and be like, oh, he was working for Perfect 10. Weird. So I go in there with my Copenhagen in a bag. I said, hey, my name's Eric Hattie. I was looking for Mr. XYZ. I just wanted to bring him a gift. And so she walks down the hall and I hear her say my name. And I hear him start screaming, and he comes around the corner with a gun in his hand, and he says, you have 30 seconds to get the fuck out of my building or I'm shooting your ass. And so he had clearly not forgiven me. It was still a very open wound in his book, and lesson learned. But That was a really long story with not a great ending, to tell you to own your shit. Um, so and here's the deal. I manage a team of folks. Um, I have people all over the spectrum of experience and business acumen that work with me on a daily basis. The one thing I'll tell you is every single person on my team has learned really quickly. There's it's oh my god, this is the most parent thing I'm ever going to say. It's worse if you don't tell me the truth. No, it just like, hey, you didn't get a report in time, just tell me. Hey man, I had a lot of shit going on. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to get to it. And I respect the shit out of that. And I know many other people in this world do too. Here's the thing. It's not even about, in a business sense. And I know that my wife is cackling if she's listening to this, because she's like, that motherfucker doesn't own up to half the stuff that I ask him about in this house. Like, did you take the garbage out? Did you scoop the litter box? Yeah, like, oh yeah, I did. Um, so yeah, guess I'm a little bit of a hypocrite there, but personal or professional, just own up to your shit. Just you know, be honest, be truthful, and the respect factor that you get from people in your personal life and your professional life when you just own up to the good and the bad, and I don't know, I'm stammering, and this is exactly why we prepare with notes and sub notes and a bulleted list of things you want to talk about, so you don't sound like this. Um, multicam. Own your shit. So that seemed like a golden nugget when I picked it off the list, and it fell a little flat. Actually, I'll tell you, because fuck, I'll just keep babbling about nothing. One of the things that I've struggled with is when I go back and I listen to these episodes, I get so frustrated because, like, I see this crescendo building up to a beautiful point, and then I just like get sidetracked, or I forget a detail, or I kind of miss, like, it's like, yeah, he hit the target, but it was like the outer ring. When had I just taken like 30 seconds, well, probably not, like 10 minutes, and thought through this before I hit the record buttons, this would be a lot more impactful. So excuse me while I think out loud and criticize myself out loud, for the whole world to see. So, on that note, here's what I'm going to do. I'm I'm going to own my shit, and I'm going to tell you I was not prepared, to the best of my ability. I'm going to go back. I'm going to find a better story that has more of a silver lining happy ending on personal accountability, and we're going to revisit this, but just not tonight. Uh, we're going to call it the brain fart cam. I'm just going to turn here every time that I'm just like completely swinging and missing. Also, if you're on my YouTube video, you're going to see that these two fat fucks are just chilling out. And I didn't realize in one of the earlier episodes, Fergie, who's the white cat, was trying desperately to get the fuck out because she was just done with whatever I was talking about. But right now, they are just conked out. Wow. I'm going to tell you that I am probably my own worst critic. And I'm going to tell you that I'm really disappointed in myself right now. And we're kind of finding that that's a common, like, thread through all these episodes, is a little bit of self-loathing and a little bit of hatred for my own craft. Uh, so yeah. At any rate, no preparation will be needed for Sunday's episode, a very special Mother's Day episode with the one and only Robin Hattie, the one woman in this world who has put up with my shit for almost 35 years and only a handful of times voiced anything negative about it. So uh, I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me while I try to figure this shit out. I will tell you that I thoroughly enjoy this. I'm actually, fuck, that's a really good. Hold on, excuse me while I jot this down. Um, you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm writing self care, personal time, and doing what makes you happy. Got it. All right. That would be a good one to come back to. Where I was going with that is I do thoroughly enjoy recording these podcasts. And I've kind of gotten into a mind fuck of going and looking at the analytics and seeing who's listening, where they're listening from, why is one episode doing better than the other or worse than the other, because I have such a large sample pool of 3.5 episodes to go off of. But I love this shit. It's kind of the best of all worlds because I get to talk and I love doing that. I get to dick around with all of my nerd on nerd shit, which is also fun. I long time ago I was telling my wife that I needed shit to tinker with. Like I'm a big tinkering kind of guy. Like when this quarantine first started, I built a server rack and I wired a bunch of rooms with Ethernet. And I was just like nerding out to the extreme, and I got all those projects done, and then I just kind of got antsy. And actually, that's when the podcast, kind of came to fruition. And now it's like, how can I continuously like improve? But here's where I'm thinking out loud and critiquing out loud is I'm improving in all the wrong things. Like I'm making it really pretty, and I have multiple cameras, and I have amazing sound quality and dog shit content. So we're gonna figure that part out. Just like in college, I really fucking hate doing my homework and preparing. That's the part that feels like work, while everything else is just so much fun. Um, so yeah, I will. I'll continue to get better. I appreciate you guys sticking in there. My name is Eric Hattie. This is Everyday Hustle, and I seriously promise that the next one will not suck.